Okay, thank you. Highly appreciated. So I hope it's not too late for you guys. It's a tough topic, but which I highly actually recommend to take a look into. Who of you does have the problem to actually work with legacy software, like in banking or in any other kind of industry? So you all work with the hottest shit out there, and everything's working. Oh, okay, there are a lot of. So, what is the age of the software that you are dealing with? Like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Like who is for above 20? Okay, fun part. 10? Woo, we're getting there. And now 5? And who is like having legacy systems already in place that is just like 6 months old? Okay, I'm sure you everyone does. So what I will a little bit chat about is really talking about like how to actually modernize legacy systems, as this is something, and you will see that also in the numbers that I'm going to share with you, a huge topic, and it's not as fun as AI is. It's maybe not as fun as like the newest industry or the newest engineering stack, but actually it's the deepest thing that we in product or in engineering can deal with. So sharing that, who saw that movie? The Money Pit with Tom Hanks? Okay, so that's actually what we are dealing with. So as coming from currently working for a project for a real estate company, so I decided to use that one. So the story behind it is like, so Tom Hanks with his fresh new girlfriend, they went out to New York and they bought a house, which is pretty cool. And from the outside, everything looked like wonderful. So they had like a garden, the house was in a wonderful shape from the outside. And then they started like digging more into it, and they found more and more pains that they had to deal with. So as you know, like joining a project where legacy software is part of it, or it's mainly the main part of it, is like renovating an old house. You never know what is going to happen. So at the end of the day, you renovate and you always find something new. So the cables need to be renewed, the pipes need to be renewed, but everything from the outside, everything looked like quite easy actually to handle. And this is the fun part, that in many projects, this is exactly what is going to happen. So you look from the outside and you think like, easy as pie. And then when you go into it, then you find like one shithole after the other. And what this means is, it's not happening only to you, and that's actually the numbers only from US. This is happening around the globe many times. So what is happening is like that there is, only in US, there is a technical debt on software of 1.5 trillion dollars in that case. So this is a huge actually potential. So, and what is coming up, like in the last 20 years, people started like developing software like crazy. And every company is now relying on applications, is relying on software. So the main profits that companies make are based on the processes that are digitalized in their software. Sometimes the software is 10 years old, 5 years old, 6 months old. But the potential in dealing actually with technical debt and fixing actually technical debt is a huge one. So whoever is never had the experience to deal with that or work with a company in fixing that problems that those companies have, and you are looking for new opportunities, you should maybe look there. It's AI also, there's also a lot of billions that are around about. Legacy software is even bigger in the background. So what is the exciting part about it is that when you look actually at the work week of a developer, so that statistic is a little bit older already, it's like 6 years old, been done by Shopify. So what happens by Stripe, I'm very sorry. So what is happening is like, what an engineer does at the end of the day is like they deal almost half of their time with the technical debt of a company. And also they are dealing like with bad code around that time for like 4 hours a week. So like half of the time, we are only fixing problems. So we are only fixing the old stuff that someone built in based on whatever someone decided what happened before. And this is a continuous process. So this is maybe nothing what we get really rid of, because actually it's just part of our work. It's just part of what we need to deal with on an everyday basis. But there are actually some ways how you can at least reduce that kind of issues. Currently, I'm working on a platform for this company, Engel Völkers, and they have a CRM system which is like almost 15 years old. In the background is an Oracle DB running, not updated for many years. The front end was running for a very long time only in Internet Explorer 6. So you can imagine how painful this is for people that are actually joining that company, and they need to open up Edge, move over to Internet Explorer 6 mode, open the CRM. And that's the fun part of it. So what I always say is like starting something fresh or switching to something new is quite an easy thing. So you can build from the green field, and at the end of the day, you have something there with no legacy in the background. But also switching something, like just turning the switch and moving over to a new platform, also more or less pretty easy. But really migrating from a super old legacy system to something completely new on a UI perspective, on a backend perspective, on a DB perspective, this is like a real challenge, and this is like actually where the fun comes. Because at the end of the day, everyone is asking you, when are you ready? So when is it going to be finished? And when you remember the gift that I just showed you about the money pit, Tom Hanks and his girlfriend, they divorced in between because she was asking, okay, when are we ready? She was like completely bleeded out on motivation on doing that stuff. And at the end of the day, what happened is like they divorced in between. And this is also what is happening often on working with legacy tools. So I know many companies that started getting rid of it, but in between the shareholders get like, okay, how long does it take? You never know. Come on. How much budget do we need? You never know, because you never know what you're going to find at the end of the day. And so what happens is they change the teams. They change the leadership because they say, okay, this guy couldn't fix it, and also those guys couldn't fix it. So continuously changing the leadership just brings up more technical debt at the end of the day, because you more and more need to deal with it. So what it needs actually is people need patience in that, and you cannot really estimate how long it's going to take. You can say, okay, maybe it's 3 years, 2 years, 5 years, to get rid of all of that. So that's the first part. The second part is like, legacy software is a little bit playing Jenga. So what happens is, you have like a software in place, and then everyone is like connecting to that platform. And then there is not only like that one piece of software in place, but there are also many connections that are around it. So when you get rid of the main tool, you should not forget about everything that is connected to it over that. And always, over the last 20 years, someone added something on the ERP system that you maybe do not know about, and that you maybe actually are not aware about, that this actually was added on top. So additionally to that, someone always tried to find a very simple way to connect their tool to the tool of the bigger part of it. So they tried to open up the platform more and more and more, and made it quite easy, or make it quite easy then also for others to take a look into that. So these are also where the security concerns are going to pump in. So it's the more you open up, the more at the end of the day, the more easy it's going to be that your system is going to be hacked. So legacy software is also a risk from the business perspective, because at the end of the day, legacy tools just get more and more opened over time, and this also makes it more easy for hackers that actually want to get into your data and into your system to access them. What is also very often forgotten, what we did a calculation on, is that technical debt is also something that you need to put actually in your sheets. So everyone in controlling and the CFOs, they are all talking about what do we have on our bank account and what is the debt that we have on our bank account. We, on a product perspective, we need also to think about, okay, what is actually the technical debt that we need to fix, that we actually have also like on our products. Because at the end of the day, this is the money that also needs to be invested from a capacity perspective and from a brain perspective, that you cannot invest in the new cool hot shit that is out there. So really thinking about that also supports you in managing actually the technical debt more carefully, and also prevents the long-term consequences that you're running out of money, that you're also like running out of resources actually to fix that stuff. So based on that, and the last projects I was working on, I also had the experience, and maybe all of you had that worked with legacy tools or had to replace parts or an entire legacy tool, is there are always multiple factors in. So on the one side you have the people, and on the other side you have the technology that you are working with. Looking this from the people perspective is, you have people on a software that know the software well since 20 years. They were part of it when it was purchased the first time. They were part of it when the first features were defined in a feature catalog 20 years ago. And then you have the technology part. So without the people that are actually there since 20 years, and without the people understanding that old piece of software, you cannot really move forward. So the change that is happening on the software part is also impacting how people are actually dealing with it. So it's a lot of empathy that you need to bring along with, because people feel pissed off when you tell them, hey, what you did 20 years ago and what you worked on the last 20 years, it's just nothing that is worth to invest anymore, so we need to get rid of it. So you also need the people on your side to actually make this happen, this transformation. So what I learned is that it's really cool, like, to bring people in that are from the now, so with the new people, and also people working together that are on that software since many years, because this is where actually the magic and the knowledge exchange actually happens. So it's really a culture of understanding how the old people work, but also that the new people respect what the old people worked on. So then you need to get the trust, and you need the capacities to actually work on that parts. So the second part is that you need the expertise on actually the technology side. So I'm not sure, so there are not so many people out there like that understand like real old pieces of software. So you need also this expertise on board, not only from a software perspective, but also how is it structured, how actually all the processes that you are dealing with. Think about like an ERP software where all the processes of a company are actually somehow connected to that old legacy ERP software, but many people do not really actually understand anymore how actually those pieces are coming together. So then you have, like, on the data perspective, you get like completely different outcomes, just because you, by rebuilding this, you just made like some mistakes or did not see something at the end of the day. So bringing all those topics together, it's always about what is the future and what are the people that are currently working on that parts. And this is also like a quite interesting approach to really look into, okay, appreciating what is currently there and what was in the past, but also celebrating the future together with the team. And I wrote down, for the last 2 projects, I wrote down like 10 commandments for managing technical debt. And I go through them quite quickly. And then you can also, I think that maybe that presentation is also prepared and for download. You can also then use them for you. So maintaining high standards is number 1. You have like external and internal suppliers, and you really need to take care of like that good documentation is in place, besides for sure also working software, but that everyone has a good idea about what actually is in place and what was built there in the past. Embracing the adaptability. So with the evolving technologies that are currently in place, but also how is actually the change then actually like having the impact on the business, but also on the compatibility beside that. Preparing for uncertainties. I can tell you a lot of stories about what happens, like you find stuff always on legacy tools. So like optimistic planning is the total wrong way of getting rid of legacy tools. I also learned this the hard way on myself. So there's always coming something up that you maybe did not have in view. Someone is quitting who was part of the team for a very long time, does have the big knowledge about it, or you just ran into topics that you did not see before and you could not foresee. Dependencies. So also what is a big learning is there are so many things that you maybe don't see in your organization connected to that old legacy tool that it's very important to really map out what actually is connected to that and to really understand also the impacts and how those things are infecting each other. Quick story, on a banking software, I had the chance to replace together with a great team. We were like a little bit surprised about the numbers of transactions that happened in a particular part of the tool, and just we counted them differently in the legacy software than like in the new setup. Like the entire transaction parameters were like fucked up for some moments. Interdepartmental trust. So also this is something what we also hear a lot of today. So really building up the trust within the team, but also building up the trust within the stakeholders, so that they really understand, okay, what you are doing there is always involving them, and you always take them along the road with you, and tell them also that things take long and that things need patience also from their side. Sixth one is the requirements. I understand that there are like very different philosophies behind dealing with requirements, but at the end of the day, it's not about only writing down like a catalog of requirements. It's also like really clarifying the requirements from a business perspective, from an analyst's perspective, also like what the data team and also the ops team do have in place, so that all those things are quite well defined before you start touching and also start estimating those topics. So making this pre-work is crucial for you to really better understand actually the to really better understand the requirements and all the impacts of time and money that you need to invest in. So the planning at the end of the day is something where you cannot really plan a roadmap on like getting rid of a legacy tool at the end of the day, but you can at least go into like bigger bricks that you can organize around the software to get rid of it, and also to have like a clear idea in place for that. So what we did in like the company now, we set up like 2 teams. So like one team was working on like the old Oracle backend and the old Oracle DB, and we set up an additional team that was only taking care about rebuilding the front end based on the old backend and on the old DB. And in parallel, we set up a team that was working completely on the new tech stack at the end of the day. And those 2 teams started quite well collaborating, and also then started really planning also together, so to get step by step rid of actually the legacy platforms. Prior, there's technical health. I think this is something that we all are thinking about most of the time. So we need to think about what is actually the topic beside like delivering actually new features, and really considering what are the non-functional topics that come in place. And often we are too much focused on delivering new hot shit rather than taking care also about the stability and everything that is connected to the health actually of the platform and the stability of the platform. Resource allocation, that's also very an interesting part. So we know that we have like resources that we want to put on new topics, and we have the resources that we need to put actually on the non-functional topics and on the depth actually that we have in place. So really think about on parts of the project and along the path that you are going to decommission the old systems, about what is actually the ideal allocation of the resources that you have in place from time perspective and also from the money perspective at the end of the day, so that you can really develop best practices around those, and that you also know like who are the people that feel more comfortable in like in the old systems, but also what are the people that feel more comfortable in the new systems with working on that. And at the end of the day, it's always about the quality and the focus, the culture around the quality that you are shaping on that. So every detail matters in this case. So also have in place that there are like the practices in place, so that for code reviews, for refactoring, and do not wait too long for refactoring topics, so to really continuously get rid of the technical debt, to be also like a secure system that is highly appreciated. And also in these times where stealing data is something that becomes like a national sport in many countries, and to really keep things very simple and to keep things also very simple to maintain. So these are actually the 10 commandments for that. And what I highly can recommend is, like, I can recommend a lot of books, but these are actually the 3 books that I highly recommend. So Ellen Ullman, we will hear about her in a second again. So Life in Code. Then this is actually the second book is a book that you maybe find on Kindle, but you maybe won't find it, or very hard find it like in a library. It's Pirates, Profits, and Pioneers by Deborah Spar. It's an amazing book, great book. And then a classic, Managing Technical Debt by the great Robert Nord, that I also can highly recommend to take a look into. And I want to close my session with a quote that I really appreciate. It's an old quote, it's from the 80s, from Ellen Ullman. And the quote is, "We build our computers or computer systems." There are discussions going on the web, like, did she say like computers or did she say computer systems? So we build our computers the way we build our cities, over time, without a plan, and always on the top of ruins. So at the end of the day, everything that we build now is built on the mess that someone else left over on the software development in the past. And that's from my side. I hope you could appreciate it a bit. And I think we have 20 seconds for questions, if there are any. There's one.
How can you convince, maybe the company or product leadership to invest in tech debt? Because I mean, everyone knows that it's there, but you need some don't really are not really convinced to go into that direction.
Yeah, so that I understand your question right, is like, so how to convince actually someone in the company or the stakeholders in the company to invest actually in, to get rid of the technical debt?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, cool. So I think there are like two things. So one is like very on the analytical level. So you build up, like over time and over years, you build up a system together with your engineers or also before you started in a company. And based on that, you can run quite interesting analyses as how much money it would take to get rid of that over time, and what does it block the business for? So what does it take longer? So we had like the very simple example, people need to open up Internet Explorer 6 in Edge. This is really painful, so it really takes them a lot of time, so they could invest more time in actually doing their business instead of waiting for like the software is loading in Internet Explorer 6. So you have like these measures that you can take, like on a process perspective. But also you have the measures that you can take on an investment perspective, that when you delay that project again another 2 years, you need to invest another 2 years later on to get rid of that old stuff. And then you have always the security topic that is quite a bummer, especially like in bigger corps, because they get more concerned about it. So to also make clear, hey, with the investments that we now do, we also reduce the risk from a security perspective, and also the risk that we are maybe losing business because we get out of the business for like 2 days or 3 days or 4 days. So those measures actually help to convince the stakeholders to invest actually in the software. Thank you so much.